Introduction of private members' bills, Mr. Masse, seconded by Mr. Bacharach, moves for leave to introduce a bill entitled An Act to Amend the Civil Air Navigation Services Commercialization Act. The motion is deemed adopted. The Honourable Member for Windsor West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and it's an honour to rise here today and thank my colleague from the West Coast for seconding this important piece of legislation. Mr. Speaker, NAV Canada right now is in the process of considering closure of traffic control centres in Whitehouse, Windsor, Regina, Fort McMurray, Prince George, Sault Ste. Marie, and St. John in Quebec. And Mr. Speaker, what is taking place is that the government has not been assertive on this, and they have said that they have to wait for a study to take place. But what we've seen in Windsor through our economic development and also the changes that would take place with aviation is significant consequences and upheaval during a time of this pandemic, especially to keep regional airports alive. And Mr. Speaker, what we're asking for is a delay of the study and the closures. The government has said that they cannot actually stop the study from taking because of legislation. So we have proposed, Mr. Speaker, the actual tools for the government to actually stop the study and actually support the air traffic control towers to stay in existence right now. So the excuse that the government has that they can't act is actually being lifted by this piece of legislation, which also could be, Mr. Speaker, through an order in council or through the government taking this legislation, just like the government has taken previous sets of my legislations in the past. And I hope they encourage them to do so. So I want to thank, Mr. Speaker, a couple people in particular, pilot Dante Albano, and there's others, but in particular, he's been a coordinating person for this and active on creating a petition where we've had thousands of Canadians sign up supporting this initiative. As well, the Canadian Air Traffic Controllers Association. And Mr. Speaker, this affects economic development and safety. In the Windsor region, where we have the Windsor Airport, there are 5 different competing traffic zones, including from the United States, that actually complicate this airspace. And Mr. Speaker, this legislation, in conclusion, will give the power of the government to immediately stop this nonsense, which will continue to go on for months, if not a year, with regards to studies, upheaving the local economies, putting public safety in jeopardy, and more importantly, creating confusion out there. So we're hopeful again that the Prime Minister will look at this, can do it through an order in council, or the government will steal this legislation in a positive way, Mr. Speaker, and actually implement it, because we need to make sure that when we build back from COVID, we have the proper tools to do so. And I would argue having regional airports and safety and protection to do those things would be a net asset, as opposed to the process right now is destabilizing our air industry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Masse, seconded by Mr. Bacharach, moves that the bill be now read a first time and be printed. This motion is deemed adopted.
First reading of this bill. Première lecture de ce projet de loi.
When shall this bill be read a second time? At the next sitting of the House.